So the Python version is clearly more concise. So I want to do a little compare and contrast between Java and Python here. Okay? So in every language, there are always going to be some features that are first-class citizens, things that are considered integral to the language, things that are supposed to really shape the way you think about how to solve problems in that language. And when it comes to data structures, the language features that are the data structures that are first class, there's often a special syntax for creating, using those types of objects. So it actually gets even a little more messy. And you will see this definitely on your projects, which is where, suppose in Python you want to make a dictionary that tells you how many legs different creatures have. So in Python you can do that in a line and say num legs equals, well, horses have 4 legs, dogs have 4, humans have 2, fish have 0. But in Java, if you wanted to create this collection, you would need to do something like this, right? You can write a helper method that might shorten things, but the default way is you would need to create a map, and then you need to put each thing one at a time, okay? So that's just a feature of Java. You don't have dictionaries or associative arrays or whatever you want to call them at the tip of your fingers. And there was actually some debate about introducing something like this into Java, but that was ultimately canceled 2.5 years ago. Maybe it'll return someday. But they found it was too messy. Because in Java, the thing was, it's not just collections and sets. Or it's not just lists, sets, and maps. There's other things that people use. And so they wanted to figure out, is there some general syntax that makes sense for any collection anybody might ever write? Whereas in Python, this symbol is used for dictionaries, for maps, right? So in Java, they wanted to make it extensible, and they didn't find the right set of things to make it work. Okay? So programming languages are made by people, maybe, is the lesson there. And sometimes there's really hard challenges. Okay? So one thing that's interesting about Java is that it actually gives you the control to separate implementation from abstract data type. So the power user can decide, I want a hash map or a tree map. In both cases, it's the same abstract data type. It's a dictionary, but over here it's hash table based. And here it is balanced binary search tree based. Okay? And so in effect, what that does is the user who really, really needs to tune their performance can make choices. Whereas in Python, you get a dictionary, and that's the dictionary you get, unless you go implement something from scratch. So for example, if you iterate, okay, that is, you just go through each of the keys in this tree map, you'll get them in alphabetical order. But in hash maps, you don't get them in alphabetical order. In fact, you have no guaranteed order. So hash map's probably faster, but in most cases, but a tree map is going to give you back keys in alphabetical order. So that's a little bit, you get a little finer grained control. Okay. All right. So why Java and 61B, by the way? It seems like it's more verbose. Okay, just some things to say. So I would argue that even though Java programs are certainly more verbose, no question, they can actually be faster to write programs. One of the reasons is you get static types, which is nice because you get type checking. But also, one of the things that I absolutely love about Java is that when you look at a program and you have a method like collect word count, as long as it's not too complicated, what's nice is when I see this, I know someone's giving me 2 lists, and I'm giving back a map. That is not the case in Python, unless you use the optional type specifying stuff, which I've never really used. So I love the fact that static types of Java exist. Another is that there's a bias in the language. It has special features that force interface inheritance. So interfaces, I think, are nicer, so you get cleaner inheritance. Another is you have things like the private keyword, which make abstraction barriers solid, and they keep giant projects from collapsing under their own weight. Because if you can't edit the thing, if you can't access variables that I decide are private, then that keeps you from screwing something up. It also makes code more efficient. For example, you can decide between hash map or tree map. You have single-valued arrays, which make them a little faster than, say, Python. And there's actually another interesting topic, which is that basic data structures in Java, they more closely resemble what's inside the actual computer. So if we did something like ArrayDec in Python, for example, it would be a little awkward because there's no need for array resizing. The thing that feels most like an array in Python is a list, and lists actually already basically they run however they want, right? So they extend automatically. Actually, what's interesting is that the list in Python is actually an array list, like we did in our class, but you wouldn't really know that, the way the language semantics work. Okay, cool. Okay, so any thoughts about that before we cruise on? Some few trivia points, yeah. Java's first-class citizens, classes. So, but actually, let's see, what is really, really easy to do in Java? Types, I'd say. I mean, types is the big one. Because you can hack type checking into Python.